Okay, here we go with Team Time Trial number 137, Tour of Tewit Wells. This is going to be a rough one. Let's just jump straight in. So it's 2 laps, 21 kilometers, which does not sound very long. 406 meters does sound a bit longer. We have what I believe is the steepest incline in Zwift in this ride. All right, here we go. Here is the bikes to start with, because this is a very uppy, downy route today. I think you really have to err on the side of a balanced setup, but you have to pick what works for you. If you are a light rider, you're going to need help on the descents. If you are a heavy rider, you are going to need to shed every ounce you possibly can. Pick wisely based on that. All right, the DS notes and the usual advice here is to download using the link in the top right hand corner so that you can have these to have and to hold to print out and leave by your side as you're doing the ride. Essentially what I tried to do here was, since this, as you can see from the profile view down below, this is all up, down, right? So I tried to put the ups in orange and the downs in black. Thought that would be nice and easy. It's 2 laps, so of course we've got the left lap 1, the right lap 2. But best way to consume it is to download it. Let's take a look at the target times. All right, so we've not ridden this as a team time trial before, so please do not be too critical of what I've got going on here, but let's see what we have. Vienna, espresso, frappe, latte, and mocha. There's no doppio there, but 36 minutes, I think, for espresso, all the way up to, I think, 50 minutes for a mocha team. That's to get you a PL spot, and then mixed doppio through to mocha. I think you're looking at 31 minutes for the cream of the crop, and all the way down to 46.5 minutes for mocha. I'll be really interested to see how we do here, but let's just jump straight into the ride and go from there. It is a start downhill, a downhill start out of the pens. I gave you all the way from the gate there, and you can see that we're going to come out pretty fast for the first half a kilometer, and that's where it's all going to go wrong after that. There really is nowhere to hide on this course. To win, by which I mean getting the best possible times, you're really going to have to master ascending as a group, but then you're really going to have to master also recovering while descending. And in fact, I might argue that on some of these climbs, you're going to have to balance your efforts well enough to be able to recover on the ascents as well. Just basically, you're going to have to balance everything. The interesting thing about this first climb, which is actually the KOM climb, is it's steepest before the KOM marker. Then you get this section that's averaging 6%, even though it's saying 1% there right now. And then it flattens out a little bit to a sub 2% for 200 meters. So we go around this bend, stays around 2%, and then it's going to kick back up fairly shortly. Oh, while we're at it, let's just jump into the coffee club. These are the November coffee club members, so a huge thank you to everyone who in November has thrown a few euros, dollars, quid, whatever to Sherpa Dave. But as always, that's not the only way to help. How do you help? Tell your friends, like and subscribe the channel and the video, and download those DS notes. All right, the last 700 meters of this is 5%, and you can see the end of it in the mini map now. It's where that sharp right-hander is. The gate is right past there. You really want to balance effort as you're going up here and stay as a group, and then head down the hill. There is a little bit of a super tuck potential, but I really wouldn't count on it. Just a quick note about what you're seeing in terms of the ride here. In terms of my video, I'm very conscious that the speed of the ascent is much different from the speed of the descents, so I'm chopping and changing the speed the video is running from 200 to 400% of my actual ride speed. So I've put a little effect in each time. You're going to see one coming up right about now as we hit the ascent, the second one of this ride. This one is 400 meters for the first 7% for the first 400 meters, and then it backs off again after that. And you will see the end, not quite yet, but in a few seconds, because there is a squirrel balloon flying high in the sky, and that tells you when you've reached the end of this climb altogether. Speeding up just a little bit as it flattens here, only 3-4% for this last section, and you can see the squirrel there in the distance getting a little closer to us. He's at 4.1 kilometers on the first lap and 15.1 kilometer on the second lap. I say he, I don't know for sure. That is a boy squirrel. It may be a girl squirrel. It may be a gender non-specific squirrel. All right, we're heading down. This is a much milder descent, averaging 2.5%. But here you really have to start thinking about what you're going to do for the hardest part of the climb, particularly the first lap. The second lap you've probably broken up a bit. But the hardest part of the whole ride today is pot bank wall and climb. I've got to say that I have seen a screenshot provided by WTRL actually of 42% at the hardest part of this climb. But for the most of us, the toughest we're going to see here is 22%, and you'll see that coming up in a second. These first 200 or so meters are the toughest. It does peak at 22, but it does stay around 15% for a significant time, and then it backs off a little and only averages 10% for 200 meters. And you can see, even though it averages 10%, it's up at 15 for a little while. The only way through this really for the team is you have to muscle through this section. Everyone will be in their own personal hell until we get beyond around here where it's 5% or less. This is the time to regroup and be very, very patient with the heavier riders as you regroup here. They are going to really be hurting, and you don't want to push them too hard, but you will get to a flat or gentle descent as you hit this point. And now we have a 1.8 kilometer average minus 2%, taking us to 6.3 or 17.2, but it does undulate. You're going to see it's flat. Here there is a little bit of uphill, and there is also obviously some downhill. But this is about the only area of flat, about 200 meters in the entire ride today. There is another 100 meter or so right before the start-finish gate as well. So if you're keeping an eye on your distance markers, we are going to get to 6.3 kilometers or second lap 17.2, and then it will turn upwards again, and you can see it there in the distance, actually not too far in the distance now. You can see where it kicks up. All right, the last of our climbs. This one is 400 meters long, averaging 6.5%, peaking at 10%, just past the middle. I think the secret to excelling, as well as being very disciplined and holding the team together on this ride, is going to be when you jettison riders off, and being prepared to do that as well. If you spend a lot of time going back for riders, it's going to kill your time. I think once somebody's dead, they're dead on this ride. Leave them be. All right, so just to be slightly awkward, this descent averages minus 3% from here, or just back there, all the way to the start of that KQOM, or on the second lap, all the way to the finish line. It's a nice steady 3% descent as we're heading down, and you can see it's going to zero out just before the sharp left-hand turn.
Like a bomb.
or maybe just after. There we go. There we go, and that's flat to the line before we start heading downwards again for lap 2. And I'll take us to the pen. There we go. So I'll leave you as always with the bikes, with the DS notes, and with the target times. And between now and Thursday, everybody, ride on.